Girivarada Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamanatira Vanachadi Jamanatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hadi Madhava Punjabi Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hadi Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Malabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Malabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Malabha Girivaradhari Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamuna Thira Vanachadi Jamanatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Madhava Punjabi Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Madhava Punjabi Hari Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajagacharya Astatarasatasi Simad His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaura Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome back for the second time. How long are you with us? Oh, really? Oh, how nice. Come and land on the branch of the tree for a while and then move on. We discussed a topic on Friday morning, which we're going to continue this morning, Tuesday. And His Grace Krunaditi Prabhu just came in for a landing here. He asked a question, which I said I would research, and I've researched. The topic has to do with the first of the Chaturshloki verses, Ahamevasam Evagre, and the Sad Asad portion of that verse, Nan Yad Yat Sad Asat Param. Sat, in Prabhupada's word for word, is translated as the effect. And Asat is translated as the cause. And so I said I'll research that a little bit. Why? The question is, Why is it that the usual Sat, meaning eternal, is identified as the effect, and Asat, which is temporary, is identified as the cause? And there's several persons that I consulted. Here's Sri Dayananda Maharaj's answer. What he did was he just gave me, the Sanskrit dictionary, Sat Asat, and it gives the standard Sat Asat, what we're used to. And then he commented, the BBT translation is somewhat non-literal, as it often is. That is to say, the literal meaning is the literal meaning, and the application in this case, there's a Sanskrit rule that I'm not too knowledgeable in, but when the primary meaning is inappropriate, then you're obliged to take a secondary meaning, and you're not to take a secondary meaning otherwise. So the secondary meaning, or Sri Dayananda Maharaj, is the non-literal meaning, is the case here. So what's that non-literal meaning? Or in this case, and I'm going to read at the conclusion of this little discussion, Prabhupada's purport from Adi Lila Chaitanya Charitamrita on this verse. So the explanation goes like this, and you'll hear it in his purport from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sat, in this case, means the effect, or the visible result. The visible result. That's this world is the visible result of the remote cause, and Asat, in this case, the cause is something that's not visible. Asat, not visible. And in this case, it's the indirect meaning, or the secondary meaning, or the non-direct meaning. I'll just read. Stated more completely, here Sat as effect, quote, Sat as effect, refers to that which we perceive as real, namely this creation, while Asat as cause refers to a variety of non-perceivable or perceptible immediate causes of the creation, which Prabhupada lists in the Bhagavatam purport, which we're not going to read, namely Mahavishnu and Brahmajyoti. They're not visible, but they're causation principles behind the universe. And then by extension, Mahatattva and Pradhan, which is described in the Adi Lila purport. So Krishna remains Param, the ultimate cause of both Sat and Asat. There's the ribbon on top of the package. I could say it again, but maybe if you want me to say it again, I'll say it again. Here's Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, Chapter 1, verse 53, purport. Sat means, quote, effect, and Asat means, quote, cause. And Param refers to the ultimate truth, which is transcendental to cause and effect. The cause of the creation, Sat, is called the Mahatattva, or total material energy, and its effect is the creation itself. But neither cause nor effect existed in the beginning, semicolon. They emanated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as did the energy of time. This is stated in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmad Yasya Yataha. The source of birth of this cosmic manifestation, or Mahatattva, is the Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, In Bhagavad Gita 10.8, the Lord says, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, I am the fountainhead of all emanations. The material cosmos, being temporary, is sometimes manifest and sometimes unmanifest, but its energy emanates from the Supreme Absolute Truth. Before their creation, there was neither cause nor effect, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead existed with his full opulence and energy. Do we want to pause and discuss this? Should I explain it again, or should I just move on? Krunanidhi's happy. We'll just continue. Anyone want to discuss? Yes. My answer is we have to understand the meaning according to context. And the context that you're speaking about is different than the context here. And I'm not the Acharya, Prabhupada is. And in the context here, he's choosing to translate sad or sat and asat in the way that he's describing it. The visible part, the effect. Normally, the creation isn't called sat. That's the usual. But in this case, the effect, sat. That which we see, that which we perceive. It's context sensitive. Does that help? Yes. Microphone?
Me yajgnatva amritam ashnute anadimat param brahma na tat sat na asat uchyate. So that means higher than sat and asat.
Yes, that's the standard. And so, Hridayananda Maharaj, he sent from Sanskrit dictionary, just cut and paste from the Sanskrit dictionary. When these two words are found side by side, here's how you're to understand them. And it's, as you're describing, it's the standard. And then in the BBT translation, or how Prabhupada chose to explain it in the word for word in particular. Okay?
Maharaj, I found interesting point that Bhanu Maharaj, Anuswami has translated in Karma Sandarbha and Sarathi Darshan by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He also translated in opposite way, like he wrote Asat as means effect. So I don't know that means and the cause and the Sat as cause.
I don't know. Okay. I didn't check. Okay, we're ready to move on? Okay, fantastic. Now, because it's been a few days, I'll just make a little reminder on the flow of these prayers. The section that we finished was Brahma's explanation or his illumination of the relationship between Krishna and the Purusha avatars. He sees, and he's expressing, I see within you Mahavishnu, Garbhadakshay Vishnu, Shiradakshay Vishnu. You are them, or they are expansions of you. That's one part of Krishna Tattva. Then another part of Krishna Tattva is Krishna and his energy. Sambandha. And we're going to hear, what we understand as Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva. the energy in relation to Krishna is simultaneously one and different. For that matter, the Purusha avatars are one and different. And then the original is the original. Within the original is everything. So within the original is everything. And then there's some part of everything, and that some part is non-different, but different because it's not the origin of everything. So that's the topic. And here's the verse. Have you not shown me today that both you yourself and everything within this creation are manifestations of your inconceivable potency? First you appeared alone, and then you manifested yourself as all of Vrindavan's calves and cowherd boys, your friends. That's his Swarup Shakti. Not just, anyway. Next, you appeared as an equal number of four-headed Vishnu forms who were worshipped by all living beings, including me. He watched himself worshipping Vishnu. And after that, you appeared as an equal number of complete universes. Finally, you have now returned to your unlimited form. That's important. Forms, if you're a Mayavadi, then form is limiting. Your unlimited form as the Supreme Absolute Truth, one without a second. Now, yesterday evening, we heard a very interesting commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. In case you didn't hear it, just the simple essence of his commentary is, I, Lord Brahma, already understand about the Mayic feature of your expansions, your potency expansions. I was very involved with building a universe according to your plan. And so I understand all those things prior to today. But today, what I now understand is you showed me not only your unlimited potencies, but you showed me spiritual universes that are the basis and the foundation of the material universes. Because Swarup Shakti, Swarup Shakti, Swarup Shakti, Swarup Shakti, and Swarup Shakti, those universes that you showed me this morning were spiritual universes. Now, I've never heard that before. If you like, I'll read it again. Maybe I'll read it again. This is, but today I have realized the existence of thousands upon thousands of spiritual universes formed through your inconceivable power, Swarup Shakti. What object exists independent of you in the thousands of universes that you have shown me today? Nothing. For everything is emanating from you. You have shown me not the material nature of thousands of universes, but their spiritual basis. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. How? Then again, first you were alone, then this, then that, then that, then that. Then you became all the universes of all the countless Brahmas. Then Yogamaya, by your desire, covered all this and revealed the one form, Advayam, of the pure, perfect Brahman with immeasurable, incomparable beauty. For my benefit, you remain uncovered before my eyes through the potency of Yogamaya. That was yesterday. And now we're going to hear what Jiva Goswami has to write in his commentary. Let us forget Yashoda's realization, meaning for a moment. Let us speak of today, because previously he was speaking of Yasoda's universe, and was that universe inside the same as the universe outside, and what's the relation, and that topic was covered. And now it's what he saw today. The word Tvat refers to the direct form of the Lord represented by the calves and boys who became the four-armed forms as described in the following statements. And this is from the previous chapter 13. Purovad, Abdham, Kridatam, Dadrashe Sakalam Harim, or Krishna was engaged, just as before, in playing with the boys and calves, who were his expansions. Remember, this is Jiva Goswami and his commentary. Then, while Brahma looked on, all the calves and boys tending them immediately appeared to have complexions the color of bluish rain clouds and to be dressed in yellow silken garments. That's 10:13:46. That's a translation of a verse. Then later that same chapter, Satya Jnanananda Ananda Matraika Rasa Murtayaha. Translation, the forms all had eternal, unlimited forms full of knowledge and bliss, which were all one form. Paragraph. The word asya refers to living beings other than what was mentioned above. And then he makes reference to another verse in chapter 13. Atmadi stamba paryantayar murtimabdis characharai nritya gitadi anekarhai pratak pratak upasita pratak. These forms, this is chapter 13, these forms were worshipped by the presiding deities of all moving and non-moving beings, including Brahma, with many items such as singing and dancing according to their respective capacities and ingredients. Pratak pratak upasita. And then, same chapter 13. Kala Swabhava Samskara Kama Karma Gunadibihi Swamahi Dvashta Mahibir Murti Madbir Upasita. So these are some of the other entities that we're worshiping, the Vishnu forms. The personifications of time. What would the personification of time look like? The personification of the ability to transform, that's swabhava. Impressions, samskara. Desire, kama. Karma, the gunas. Names and forms, whose powers were dwarfed by Vishnu's powers, worship these Vishnu forms. So what's going on is Brahma, is identifying, or Jiva Goswami through his commentary is identifying what Brahma saw, the relationship between Krishna's energies and him. That's the topic. He's giving Sambandha Gyan through prayers. Sakham Maya means that the Lord was worshipped by himself and also the whole universe where he lived. Other than your form, namely the forms of the calves and boys and the four-armed forms of Vishnu, was not everything else I saw whose glories were defeated by your powers some creation of Maya? Yes. Everything was defeated. Then Brahma describes what he saw. Krishna, the boys and calves in the four-armed forms. Everything, both Maya and non-Maya, that I saw. was your form alone, the perfect Brahman. This surpasses mere Brahman. Brahma dvayam shishyate means that the Brahman famous in the scriptures cannot be compared to the Brahman standing before me. This is explained in, there's it quotes Brahma Sutra or Vedanta Sutra. Na sthanato pi parasyobhya lingam sarvatrahi. Translation: the Lord, although situated in two different places, does not undergo change because he exists everywhere simultaneously. To confirm this, Brahma himself says, now this is a verse later on in this chapter 14, and this is, we're ending abruptly. It's a nice verse. He says twice, aho bhagyam, nanda gopa, vrajau kasam. Yan mitram, mitra means friendship, yan mitram paramanandam purnam brahma sanatanam Nanda Gopa. How greatly fortunate are Nanda Maharaj, Vrajau Kasam, the cowherd men, and the other inhabitants of Brajabhumi. There is no limit to their good fortune because the absolute truth, the source of transcendental bliss, the eternal supreme Brahman, has become their friend. That's Jiva Goswami's explanation or commentary on this morning's verse. A couple simple thoughts. The Srimad Bhagavatam is revealing, as the first verse of the entire Bhagavatam says, the absolute truth. Janmad yasya yataha. The absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Param Satyam Dhimahi, which means everything is within, everything that exists has its source of emanation, and revealing that source of emanation is what Brahma is doing, or the rest of the Bhagavatam is expanding on that. It's an exposition on Vedanta Sutra, explaining that which is the source of everything and how the puzzle pieces fit together into one picture. And that one picture is the original form of Krishna, the unlimited form, contrary to in Mayavadis. The form of Krishna doesn't limit Krishna. The form of Krishna is unlimited form. And within that unlimited form, everything exists. It's much more pleasing than, singularity explodes and becomes everything. Like, where does singularity come from? And where all the mass within the singularity come from, and what caused it to explode into Big Bang? Much more plausible. Everything emanates from the Supreme Being. And so we consider what the scientists say is fanciful, and they consider what we say is fanciful. And it's a standoff as far as, views of ideology. However, this ideology is resting on Vedic authority, and in principle we accept. In principle, we accept Vedic authority. Here's our reasons why. Here's their reasons why they don't. And they rely on their senses and reasoning power, and we don't. We rely on Apaurushaya Shabda Praman. So this Apaurushaya Shabda Praman is expanding, and Brahma's prayer is explaining, elucidating the relationship between the source and the energy. And the energy is within that source, and the energy can be expanded by the source, and the energy can be withdrawn by the source. And there's the material manifestation, there's the spiritual manifestation, there's a spiritual counterpart to the material manifestation, and there's a material manifestation that doesn't disclose, but it covers the spiritual. And Brahma is feeling very fortunate. He is very fortunate, and he's feeling very fortunate. There was a question yesterday, what's the mercy factor or the gratitude factor? And Brahma is realizing the absolute truth, which is what the Bhagavatam is revealing. There is a source of everything, and that source of everything is that smiling form, very beautiful form, standing before him. Filled with, of all things that is the absolute truth, Krishna is filled with, superlative amongst all is rasa. And so thus the rupa madhurya, this one of the 64 qualities that's unique for Krishna, is the superlative form of his form, the feature of his form in madhurya, in sweetness. Now Brahma, in the one of the prayers that is being referred to in Jiva Goswami's commentary, is Nandagopa and the other elder Gopas, and for that matter, all the residents of Vrindavan, they not only have this experience of the absolute truth, as I now have had that experience, but they have this relationship of rasa, of friendship, maitra. So that's the most outstanding feature of this form before me. The form, so say it again. There's the opulence feature and there's the sweetness feature. The opulence feature, I get it. I didn't get it fully before, I get it now. And the sweetness feature is so special. The residents of Vrindavan have it in a way that I don't have it. I appreciate that they have it. I have knowledge of their having it, but I don't have it. And I want it. It's Raganuga Bhakti. In it's not explicit, but that's what's being taught. It's the hankering, the aspiring for that happiness of the residents of Vrindavan. It's not filled out. It's something with the Bhagavatam, and for that matter, Sanskrit in general. Within a sound vibration, there's so many understandings. And the English language is, something is lost. The completeness isn't experienced. So we have to work with what we have to work with. We have the English language. We can appreciate through the lens of our acharyas and our preceptor, Lord Brahma, and Shukadeva Goswami discussing these things with Maharishi Parikshit and so forth, to unpack the Sanskrit. But the sound is supposing one doesn't. The sound vibration is so important. There's one little sharing. I'll skip the names and then I'm going to end. Somebody shared with me that their grandmother from childhood would every day read Srimad Bhagavatam. And so that impacted on this young girl growing up, seeing her grandmother reading Srimad Bhagavatam. She came to America, she met Hare Krishna devotees, she became a devotee, she got the Bhagavatam, and she thought to make a gift to her grandmother of Srimad Bhagavatam in her native tongue. Prabhupada's Bhaktivedanta purports. And so she gifted it to her grandmother. And her grandmother told her, I've been reading Srimad Bhagavatam my whole life, and it's so sweet, but I never understood it. I had faith in it, and it lifted me, but I never really understood it. And now I can't stop reading Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhaktivedanta purports of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we're at Prabhupada's feet, literally and figuratively, expressing our appreciation for the little bit of light that's come into our world of darkness to Om Ajnana Timarandasya Gananjana Salaka Chakshudamiritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha, to give us that opportunity to get a picture of God, or the absolute truth, or that which is, or He who is the source of everything. And what does that mean? What does it look like? And what are some of the features? The eagerness and faith are so important to get the fullness. And even if we don't get the fullness, we're getting enormous benefit anyways. Like Prabhupada would say about book distribution, people can just touch the book. There's great potency, but to speak of go further and go further. So here we are. We're a little further than touching the book, and we're with our mouths open, astonished at the truths of Krishna that are being revealed to us, the truths of that which is the source of everything. So we'll stop there and continue tomorrow morning. Discussion. Krunanidhi's very enthusiastic over there.
Maharaj, I am confused.
You're confused.
That you read in a purport, that is Sarupa Sakti.
Anu what?
Sarupa Sakti.
Sharup Shakti.
Yeah. So when Krishna is manifesting in four-armed form, so that means how it will be like Sarupa Sakti.
How does he do anything?
It's
A spiritual potency.
because we know that Krishna has 200 form is only that is called Swasa.
Sharup Shakti, all it means is his own potency.
Mhm.
Through his own potency, he does things, including manifesting forms of Vishnu. What's the difficulty? What is the difficulty?
So
Be specific.
So that means how can we refer that 400 forms are also Sarupa Sakti?
It's his potency. Through his potency, the form manifests. Supposing he withdraws that potency, the form is no longer visible to Brahma. It doesn't mean that once upon a time that form didn't exist, and then through Swarup Shakti, he went into the lab and made a four-arm form and manifested it. It's eternally existing within him, and through Swarup Shakti, it's manifest and withdrawn. Everything is through his spiritual potency, even the material creation. It's just a shadow of his spiritual potency.
Shadow.
Okay?
Thank you. And another word you read, right? Advayam, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur.
Yeah, the original form.
Yeah, that is so because we are Dvaitavad.
We're what?
We the Gauda Vaishnava, we give importance to Dvaitavad. To
Dvaitavad.
yes. So how can you explain with this in relation to Advayam here?
All it means is that form, the original form of Krishna, is not in the dualistic realm. Brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. That's what it means. The Bhagavan feature of Krishna before him is not in the realm of duality. It's non-dual, advayam, all spiritual. That's the meaning. Is that right? Okay. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I have two questions. The second is still not formed yet. It's forming.
Do the first one first then.
Yeah. So Lord Brahma is seeking to be or wanting or seeking the intimacy or affection like the boys in Vrindavan.
Not just the boys in Vrindavan,
Residents.
the residents of Vrindavan, Nanda, everybody.
So is it that Lord Brahma is dissatisfied with his current position and
He's
service?
understanding I'm at the top of the mountain and there's much more to go. The intimacy of the residents of Vrindavan is the much more to go. It's not like dissatisfied. It's hankering for that intimacy, the sweet, loving exchange. That's good. That's not feeling bad, about I'm not satisfied. In a material sense of not satisfied. The spiritual hankering is not material dissatisfaction.
Thank you. And the second one is you were referring to the 13th chapter, that all these forms that Lord Krishna had manifested, there's the form of time, Kala Rupa.
Yeah.
Then there were the personified Vedas, etc. Sometimes the Vedas are referred to in the feminine form. We say someone is taking initiation, the spiritual master is the father, and the Vedas are the mother.
Yeah.
And here it seems like there are masculine forms, notwithstanding sort of the material gender. I'm just curious, what makes the Vedas masculine sometime or referred to as feminine sometimes?
I don't see that they're referred to as masculine at any time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought here the forms were that they were there were.
They're Shaktis.
Okay.
That's feminine.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what Kala Shakti looked like. I don't know what the personified Vedas look like, but the gender is feminine, and they're his Shaktis.
So I misunderstood that all the forms that he had manifest somehow were all Vishnu type forms.
No. The Vishnu forms were being worshipped by the Shakti forms. What the part that I didn't understand is and their forms and their glorification were insignificant compared to Vishnu Shakti. And that part I didn't get. But Shakti is feminine, and Shaktiman is masculine. No, but so then the Vishnu Tattva forms that were manifest, they're masculine, they're Purushas. So he can manifest male and female forms, no problem, because everything is within him. Okay?
This is a doubt. It's
Take
not,
the mask down so I can hear you better.
It's a doubt. It's not a juggling of the
doubt?
words. It's a doubt when you say that Brahman, who's standing behind Krishna, he says that I'm not the same Brahman, and you quoted the verse, Aho Bhagya, Nanda Gopal Kasham. It's a different Brahman. And I'm not playing with the words, but in Bhagavad Gita, the same Brahman, we say that Brahmano hi pratishtaham, and it is full of happiness and full of nectar. And I understand it's two kind of Brahmans. But I'm trying to correlate the verse with Bhakti Yogena Manasi Samyak Pranihiti Amale. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Well, here we go again. Words are to be understood in context. And he's referring to Parabrahman. that the whole bhagya, that this is the para Brahman is so superior to the other aspects of Brahman, the commonly understood Brahma Jyoti. Brahma Jyoti has happiness, but that happiness is a drop compared to the ocean of happiness of para Brahman. It's an ocean of happiness, and it's a drop compared to.
But it is perceived differently according to the perception of different people.
Yes, exactly. So the perception of those who experience the impersonal Brahman is the happiness for them. And that happiness is different, although the object is the same, for those who perceive the Paramatma feature. And that happiness and the object is perceived differently by those who are engaged in service to the Bhagavan feature. But the same object. You know.
Is there any correlation between this verse and Bhakti Yoga and Manasi Samyak Praniti? I mean,
Yes.
There is.
Yes. What? Yes. Samyak means complete. So Vyas, in his samadhi, he saw the fullness, samyak. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, he saw Radharani. You know that example. You see the sun, you see the moon, you see the effulgence around the moon. He didn't say, and oh, by the way, I saw the effulgence. So samyak means he saw Radha. That means that he saw the whole spiritual world.
The question is, Prabhu also asked the same thing, and you told that the highest point is to go to the level of Vrindavan, the residents of Braj, where they are involved in Madhurya Rasa. But that's the highest thing to be achieved. But when Bhishma Dev, looking at the Parsarthi form, or Bali Maharaj, looking at the form of Vamana, is not sweet form?
Oh, it's sweet. Complete, most complete. Perfect, more perfect, most perfect. Is that all right?
They say that the highest goal is residence of Raj. Even Bhishma Dev say this in his verse, that highest goal is, he praises gopis while he's dying, but still his love was solid.
Oh, Krishna. Yeah. He is experiencing rasa, but he's not experiencing braja prema and braja rasa.
It seems like it's more than braja prema, because the way of separation was getting. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be picky.
Well, you are. But he wasn't frustrated. He was in his rightful position. And one who is in their rightful position, they're very happy. They're not wishing, ask Bhishma, do you want to trade? Or ask Hanuman, you want to trade? No. They're happy. They're in their position. The fullness of Krishna is fullness. The fullness of the absolute truth is everything. And there's nothing lacking in Grandfather Bhishma's love. It's full because it's part of Krishna's fullness. At the same time, saying that, there's something very special about the love of the residents of Vrindavan. Get used to it. The literature is filled with it. Just even in this 10th canto, what to speak of other places. When Narada comes, when Akrura comes, when Uddhava comes, when Brahma comes, they go, wow. But they're not there. When the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, wants to join the Rasa dance. Wow. But they can't enter. To be able to enter is a very special. It's not like Narada says, "Hey, I want to stop being Narada and I want to become." But he is. There's the pastime where he appreciates and he gets the opportunity to become Naradi. But that's a pastime. He's Narada. That's who he is, and that's part of Krishna's happiness.
Just one last clarification. Because Bhishma Dev was also feeling the same. I'm sorry. Like he's feeling when the arrows are touching his body, he was feeling the pain like as a lover biting the lover.
Yeah.
And
it was Krishna's feeling Bhishma's arrows, not the other way around.
Yeah. See. And the shash falling down from Krishna, he was looking at the shash falling down from Krishna when he's running. So all this are the very high quality, and of course, maybe much higher the Rajrasa. But anyways.
Look, if you like that, it's yours. He's ready to reciprocate with his devotees, however they're happy to be reciprocated with. Don't just be contented with whatever your relationship with Krishna is. And Bhishma is contented with his. And all the devotees of the Lord are contented.
It's the queens of Dwarka. They have much higher rasa than Bhishma, Vamandev, or Dhruva Maharaj or Prahlad Maharaj?
I don't know, higher, different. Higher has beauty is in the eye of the beholder. They're feeling very happy. Now, Bhishma Dev, it goes the hierarchy from the transcendentalist point of view, and I'm going to ask you to give up the microphone. There's Braja, it's at the top, and Dwarka and Mathura. And Mathura means, Bhishma is in that category. In Hastinapur, and so there's an intimacy that's part of the hierarchy, the intimacy of the residents of Vrindavan. And so the residents in Dwarka, they appreciate that Krishna has some very special feeling for the residents of Vrindavan, and they want to understand it. They're hankering to understand it. They're hankering to understand what is it about these devotees that attracts Krishna's love so much. He's not absent with them. At the same time, he has deep feeling for them, and they know it. So I recommend you read the section of the 10th canto where they go to Kurukshetra and they discuss about these things with the residents of Vrindavan. And they're very contented. They're very contented. But they want to understand Krishna's love. Next.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. This is from Trupti Narayan. You were mentioning that Brahma understands the opulence feature and also understands theoretically the sweetness feature. Yet, the end of his prayers, he says, "Let people say that I understand Krishna, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't understand him." Can you please explain how to understand it?
When we get there, we'll expand on that verse. But in very simple terms, what is that point where one says, I'm satiated? Or, now I understand everything that there is to be understood about Krishna. I don't think anybody is going to say that. Brahma is the most intelligent personality in the universe. He's the original receiver of the Vedas. And he's letting us know, for all of what I have knowledge of matter and spirit, in both the controller, I don't have comprehensive understanding of the absolute truth. So that's, he's Eager, you can say it it's the humble expression, but that humble expression is not a sense of defeat. It's a sense of I'm eager to know. From that position that I don't know, I want to know. And that's good. We should always be in that position of humble and wanting to know. And recognizing because I'm limited, how can I understand the unlimited? But I want to know. And the more that you understand, and the more that the intimacy of love, because I want to serve the unlimited, Krishna may bestow upon you, or me, or all of us, some of us, that inability to understand him, and even the greatness of the residents of Vrindavan. I like the way that Mother Yasoda's greatness was not that she understood what she saw, but she didn't understand Krishna. That was her greatness. That is because of the power, the intensity of her love for Krishna as mother. Now, we don't cultivate that in our sadhana stage. We cultivate understanding. In our cultivation of understanding, Brahma's prayer is perfectly appropriate. For all that I understand, I don't understand fully. It's a humble expression, and it's I wish to understand further. That's good for us.
Sri Radhika, what is the lacking on our side if we do not experience the same sweetness in Vani association in comparison to when we are able to experience both Vapu and Vani association? And what can we do to better take advantage of Vani association when that is all that is possible for us?
I'm thinking of three things: deity worship, being in Vrindavan, and association with Prabhupada. Being in Prabhupada's personal association was exhilarating. And while the transcendental reality, his sound vibration, he's present through sound, we don't have that I don't have that realization. I mean, very limited. Or deity worship. Prabhupada would say, take the impression of the deity and remember the impression of the deity throughout the day or different intervals of time during the day. And that's wonderful. It's not the same as what Subal is doing right now, standing before the deity and performing puja. So you can do it in your mind, but it's not this. It's transcendentally the same, but it's the experience, at least from our conditioned state, it's not the same as standing, worshiping the deity and dressing the deity. And let's say anything the name, chanting the name. We know the philosophy. The name and the person are non-different, but what is our experience? But if we could be before Krishna, what would that be like compared to our experience of chanting? So, what the difference is our covered consciousness, and we take the means that's provided to us, Vani and Vapu, according to what's available. And we're eager for both, with faith that either, according to what's available, either will carry us to the conclusion. So the big factor is faith, with which we engage in the Vani and the Vapu when it's available.
And Uttama Bhaktadas, part 2 from last night. Are inanimate objects of Vrindavan, like stones, pebbles, etc., that respond to Lord Krishna, not actually inanimate?
We can speak of them as non-moving living entities, and in that sense we can say inanimate. On the other hand, more precise is they're actually everything in the spiritual world is alive. Everything is spiritual, and that means alive. So that way, in that sense, animate. So the stronger sense is the stones, the river, and so forth. They're living entities. It's spirit, all spiritual. There's no matter covering. They're animate. In Shanta Rasa.
And he asks, is it logical to say that our effort is 1% and Lord's mercy 99%, not to be laid back or slackened in our effort?
Well, I like the conclusion, but I'm not sure the math, you got the math right. Go ahead.
And last one here. Giridhar Votikota. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, as per Damodar Leela, as sadhaka, we should make an effort to please Krishna. How can I avoid doer mindset while doing this effort?
Bhakti can dissolve that mindset. And bhakti means you do for Krishna as an instrument of Krishna, and the obstacle is your false ego. But you cultivate the mood of doing for Krishna as an instrument. That's bhakti. So bhakti is the solution to that problem. And otherwise you'll continue in the doership spirit. Anything else in the room? Stira, you usually have some question. You're okay this morning. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.